Hello and welcome back to Don't Lift Off. Sorry I've been away for a couple of weeks. What have we had? British Grand Prix, British winner, Goodwood Festival of Speed, and now back to Don't Lift Off. So tonight I've got someone I've been looking forward to speaking to since I started the channel. He was on my original list of people I'd love to speak to. Guest that I've got tonight has raced for over 60 years, believe it or not. Started in the 60s, raced single-seaters, was World Sportscar Champion, raced in Formula One, coached for as long as he's raced on four wheels, as well as helicopters, instructing in helicopters. This guy has done it all. He's an absolute gentleman. I'm really looking forward to speaking to him. He's one of the nicest, if not the nicest guy that I know in British motorsport, and is an absolute legend, and is still racing today in single-seaters, which is really cool. So, Mr. Mike Wilds. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you enjoy this channel, feel free to share it with other people you know. All right, enjoy the episode. What's your weapon of choice tonight? Thirsty Ferret.
Thirsty Ferret.
Is that a southern drink? Is that a locally brewed one?
It is. I'm not quite sure where it's done. Where does it say? Can't see. But yeah, it's from down south.
Whereabouts are you in the country? I know I've asked you this once before.
I'm between, well, if you were at Thruxton, you come out of Thruxton and turn west on the A303.
Yeah.
You go down there for about 40 minutes and you go past a village called Mere, M-E-R-E, and it's on the Dorset, Wiltshire, Somerset border. It's a little village. We're in Wiltshire, but like a mile away is Dorset.
It's Dorset.
And a few miles away is Somerset.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a lovely part of the world.
Proper West Country then, really?
Yeah, southwest. Yeah. So I'm close enough that I want to pop down and see Matt with his new venture.
Yeah. Shout out to Matt Kelly. What he it'll be coast racing preparations and various things.
Refurbishment, etc.
Yeah. I need to get him on the podcast. Actually, he'd be very entertaining.
He would. He's a great bloke. I've only ever done one front-wheel drive race in a Mini, and
I heard about this.
I lunged him
into Druids.
Into Druids, yeah.
Yes,
it was great.
Yeah, he said it was mega.
Bless him. I've never had so much fun in so many few laps as racing that Mini Cooper S. It was incredible.
Really?
Yes.
Was that on the GP circuit or was it Indy?
No, just the club circuit.
Oh, that'd be ideal for a little Mini though.
It was wet in parts and dry, and it was incredible. And I did the big hero act and thought I'll lungy and curly into Paddock Bend and to get the lead. And of course, it just went so sideways. I thought if I go off here sideways, it's going to roll in when it goes into the gravel trap.
Yeah.
But luckily, I just stayed flat. It straightened up, and I came out of the gravel trap in 9th and got back to 3rd.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Matt said it was a mega race.
Yeah, it really was awesome.
You've known Matt for quite a while, since he was a whippersnapper, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I drove for a Curia Cos, and the cars were built in Salsey Forest near Northampton.
Mm.
And after some of the races, we used to go in a little cafeteria, really, just a canteen where all the guys went to have their lunches and teas. And Matt was a sweeper upper, and he used to come in and just sit and listen to our stories as to what had gone on at the 1,000 Ks at Spa or Le Mans, or wherever.
Yeah.
So I've known him that long.
Mega. That's cool. Well, listen, mate, pour yourself a drink. I've pressed the record button just for the sake of pressing the record button because it's something I'll otherwise forget to do. But yeah, cheers, mate. Here's to good health.
Thanks, Jay. Yeah, thanks
Here's
for chatting with me.
Yeah, well, and thanks for coming on, mate. Thanks for joining me. Here's to
Hope
still
it's not too
racing
boring.
in. I'm sure we can. I'm sure we can make it not boring somehow. I've seen a couple of photos that I'll bring out that certainly aren't boring. We'll save them for later. What's Dunny dug up out of the back of the closet? I didn't speak to Fluxy, don't worry. Yeah, no, here's to racing in your 80s, mate. Are you 80 yet? What
No,
if you don't mind me asking?
I got 5 months to go, just over,
Good
and I'll be
God.
80.
I was looking back on some of your Facebook posts and having a look at your book again, which I should just add. Life on the
Love
Wild
that car.
Side.
Love that car.
Yeah, what's that? So that's a
Nine
956?
956, yeah.
Yeah,
Group C was just one of the best racing categories ever.
yeah, yeah. What a beautiful looking car. That was, so am I right in saying that was at Le Mans Classic, that car?
Yeah, 3 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So do they run that in the night then as well?
yeah.
Mega. So how long is that race?
Oh, they were they did several races, but they're only about an hour each. So the owner and myself, we just did half hour each.
Nice. Run the full
Yeah,
circuit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Proper.
So
Proper.
she was pressing on. She was doing a good 200 miles an hour or so, and
Good
she
God.
was what? How old would she have been? 53 years old or something. But no,
Yeah.
35 odd years old, the car. And it's still so quick.
Yeah. Wow.
They'll still do 59 seconds around a short circuit at Donington.
Will they really?
Yeah.
That's fast, fast, fast.
Oh, the bottom of Craners is doing 170 miles an hour.
Are you really? So they've got quite a bit of aero on them as well.
Oh, yeah, it's all ground effect. Ground
Right.
effect and some good aero on top as well.
Your neck will be
So,
feeling it on that then. Talk about your neck at Thruxton the other
oh, yeah,
day.
that's why it's really good to race them in historics because I only have to do half an hour
Yeah.
instead of 2 hours back in the day.
You know, it's funny just looking at this book and this. I think this picture actually is on back of Matt's wall. This isn't it lovely to have such a nice painting?
Yeah, it was 10 years ago when I done my 50th season of racing, and I just wanted something to celebrate it. And I thought an oil painting, so Andy Kitson did it for me, and he said you can have 15 cars. It's really difficult when you've raced and driven about 150 different racing cars to come up with 15. So they
Mm.
were 15 of the most significant cars for me, like my DRW, the first ever racing car I had, through Formula Ford, Formula 3, Formula 5000, my first Formula 1 race, the fastest car I ever drove, which was the Nissan at Le Mans. I'd never
Oh
done
yeah.
240 miles an hour before.
Good God.
Um, the only car I won a world championship in, which was the little Ecos. British. I really enjoyed Formula 2 cars, and I was British champion in that yellow Rolls RT1.
This one
And
here.
yeah,
Was that F3? Did you say
no,
or
Formula
F2?
2.
F2.
It,
Nice.
there was a Formula 2 class in the British Formula 1 Championship, and
Ah, okay.
I won the class, but luckily
Nice.
managed to mix it with some of the slower Formula 1 cars, if you like.
And which one's the Akuriakos? Is that this one here?
Yeah. Yeah, we
Right.
were running, we started in 1984 together. I drove for them for 4 years in the World Championship. And we initially started with a modified Lola chassis. Ray Mallock, one of my dearest friends,
Mm.
uh, modified a Lola chassis, a Decadene, um, into a Group C car. He designed the body.
Right.
And do you know, that little car did 217 miles an hour at Le Mans with
Did
little
it really?
13-inch wheels. And yeah,
What
incredible.
size wheels?
Just 13-inch wheels on the front. So we
13-inch
were
wheels.
bit of a disadvantage on some of the circuits because we couldn't run very large brakes, and the Spice was generally a quicker car. Um, but we had some great drivers, David Leslie, um, Ray Mallock himself was very, very quick. We won lots of world championship races together. I drove with Mark Douay, Johnny Dumfries a few times, Win Percy. Um, so I had a few over those 4 years. I had a few different co-drivers. But I
Mm.
tell you, what fantastic racing it was! Absolutely,
Yeah. Is there quite a lot of cars on the grid as well?
yeah, yeah. We had a lot of cars on the grid for 1000K races. It just had more character than now. I look at endurance racing now, and I look at these LMP ones, and they're all the same, just different colours. And I think it's 20 Le Mans, for instance. It now appears to be 24 one-hour sprint races with air conditioning in the cars and power steering and flappy paddles to change gear behind the steering wheel. And
Yeah.
um, I'm so glad that I managed to drive at Le Mans all through the 80s in cars where I had to change gear. It was 55, 60 degrees C inside. I'd lose 10 pounds in weight during a stint and
What's that in
had no power
kilos?
steering.
What's that about? 3 kilos? 3 or 4 kilos? Is
Yeah,
that? I've got
yeah.
no idea.
It's
Something
just
like
that you
that. Good God.
perspire in
Yeah.
such a hot car. So you used to lose a lot of weight. And back in the day, really, we didn't have isotonic drinks and so on and so forth. We just to pop some salt tablets and drink lots of water, and um, but it was just proper. We're in a different world, so endurance racing is different. But I'm glad I did it when I did.
Yeah. I suppose your hands. So if you're working with the stick shift, just a short stubby gear stick, I bet you'd have like massive blisters.
It wasn't too bad, to be honest. Places like Le Mans, I used to put, sorry, Monaco, I used to put a bit of tape round my hand underneath the glove just to stop getting blisters. But
Right.
Le Mans wasn't too bad. I never had to tape. The gloves were good enough.
Right. Right. Okay. So how many Le Mans starts have you done in your career?
Not enough. I did 7 in the 80s.
Did you?
Um, yeah, I started in a Porsche 935 Le Mans in 1981.
Do you know what I'm
And
going to start? I've got a load of photos that I'm going to just stick on screen if I can. You hopefully will see that. Can you see that on
yeah,
screen there? Oh, so
the
that's
book.
obviously your book, but let me have a look, see what I can find. As yeah. Um, well, I'll tell you what. Let's go back to where it all started then. So this
Yeah,
is this where it started? That looks like, is that somewhere like Silverstone?
no, it's Snetterton
Oh right,
uh,
okay.
in May 1965. That's me in the middle, car number 33 in my DRW Mark 1. It was 750 Motor Club 1172 formula. So we had 1172 side valve Ford engines. I had a 3-speed gearbox, and the engine you could modify. So we had bigger valves in the 1172 engine. We had to offset them. So we used to have to cut the cylinder head gaskets. with a scalpel and try and give enough room for the inlet and exhaust valves to open and close. Um, but it was quite a quick little car, and I qualified near the back that day. Um, Hilariously, um, people were always very kind. They showed me where to go to sign on, where to go to scrutineering, where to line up to go out and do your qualifying. But I did qualify at the back of the grid. But one wonderful piece of information I got at the before the start of the race was one chap said, because it used to be a flag, you used to drop the Union flag to start the race.
Yeah, yeah,
And
national flag.
yes, so he said, don't watch the flag, watch the starter's elbow. And so I got some revs up. There was 1 minute to go. My heart was trying to come out of my chest. It was just the most exciting thing I'd ever done in my life.
Yeah,
And he got up on a little rostrum on the left-hand side of the track at Snetterton. And this was the old circuit with the long Norwich straight and so on.
yeah.
Um, he said, watch the starter's elbow. So as he came up with the flag, I didn't look at the flag, I looked at it, and as soon as his elbow moved, I dropped the clutch. And I shot through, and by the time we got to the bridge, there used to be a bridge over the start line at Snetterton.
Yeah.
I led the race. I
No way, right from the
went
back.
through I went through everybody. So I led down to the first corner, which is Rich's, if my memory serves me
Yeah, that's
right.
right. Yeah, yeah,
And
still is. Yeah.
I was so, I was, what have I done wrong? Oh shit. So I don't know why I didn't look in the mirror. My father took a picture, which I haven't got with, sadly, but I was turning round looking behind to see where everybody was and what have I done wrong.
Yeah,
Then put the brakes on for the corner, and then of course lots of cars just came past me inside, outside. And I
brilliant.
spent the whole race with these two guys, um, learning slipstreaming and all sorts of things. And I ended up finishing third, which was great. Came home with the biggest smile on my face with my mum, my dad, my brother in my mum's Morris Minor 1000 with a trailer on the back. It took us about 10 hours to get back.
Were you living in Wiltshire then as well?
No, no, I was in Chiswick in West London then. And
Right, right.
I had an egg cup for size trophy, which I can't fit my trophies in the house. So a local company have got them in the reception of their business
Oh,
in a
brilliant.
glass cabinet. And I've still got all those trophies back from the 60s right up
Have you?
to ones I won over the last couple of weeks.
Wow. That's brilliant. It's funny how because I looked on your website earlier and how many of the photos that you've kept as well, like from back in back in the day. So
Yeah,
going through, is this from the same meeting? Was it?
that was the grid. Yeah, I was at the back of
Right.
the grid. Well, I was standing there with my brother at the back, um, with my little DRW. I was on the penultimate row, I think, and these are all the little cars I zipped through and led by the time I got to the bridge.
Brilliant.
It was because we didn't wear seatbelts or anything, so I got out of the car because I was so nervous, and I was chatting to my brother who raced motorbikes. So he was a fair bit older than me, and he was just calming me down and saying, "Just
Yeah,
relax, go
just
enjoy yourself."
talking you through it.
Yeah,
It's funny your first race because you do all the practicing that you do, and then as soon as that well, in my day it was karting, and as soon as the green light went, that was it. It's like all the stuff that you'd done the previous day, practice, it just all goes out the window, and you're just like staring at drivers as you're going past them, and it all goes out the window completely, doesn't it?
yeah. I mean, I didn't do any practice. So I just arrived at Snetterton, never saw it before, and just went out for practice for the race. The only thing I'd done prior to that, I did a hill climb at Woburn in Bedfordshire,
Yeah, yeah.
and I did a sprint at Brands Hatch, a 1 lap sprint at Brands Hatch,
Right.
which was quite funny in itself, in that when I went out and I got to Druids, I spun, and then I carried on and got to Clearways and spun, and my father picked up the toolbox and was walking back to the paddock. Um, but that was they gave you a practice run or two, and luckily, once the time practice comes, I didn't spin.
So was your family into motor racing? And how did you get the bug for it?
Well, no, my father was a press photographer, but he enjoyed. He'd decoke my mum's Morris Minor 1000. We'd do it together, and I'd do lap the valves in, and he'd take it apart and put it back together. Um, so he loved to fiddle with cars. My brother was racing motorcycles in the late 50s, early 60s. So I
Hmm.
used to go and watch him, and I think that's where I got my bug for actual racing and my love for motorbikes, which I still have.
Was that
Um,
so road bikes, was it? So not like scramble bikes, but
no,
tarmac.
he had an AJS 7R 350 and BSA 500. So he did 350 races and 500 races. Um, and he was quite good. I don't, bless his heart, I don't think he ever won anything, but he just had a lot of fun. We used to go on a Saturday morning, load the bikes up. My mum and dad didn't know at the time that he was racing motorbikes.
Amazing. Well, I just didn't
So
tell her.
they couldn't really understand why he always had a van and not a car. So we kept him in New Cross in South London at a mate's garage, and we go down there and load the bikes into the back of the van and go off to Brands or wherever, and do a day's racing, and then go home and tell mum and dad we'd been down the coast or something. They did find out eventually. I'm not sure. I can't remember if they were very upset or not.
Yeah, I was going to say, they'll probably be upset when you come back without a limb or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Luckily, Johnny he didn't fall off for not very often anyway, and he never hurt himself, which I wish I could say the same thing about me and cars. I hurt myself a few times.
God. Tell us. Well, I've got a few photos from. Let's see if I can find the one that. There's a really spectacular one that you had in the book. Let me see if I can scan. There you go. This one here. Can you see that?
Yeah, I mean, well, lots of girls always said I was hot stuff. Uh, but yeah, it was a Thunder Sports race. It was back in the early 1983 or so, I think, and I was sharing the car with Ray Mallock in a Thunder Sports race, which was only about an hour long. Um, but I did the start and I was leading, and there was a Can-Am car. It probably was Falston and Brindley in their VDS Lola Can-Am car, I think, putting me under pressure.
Right.
Uh, and after about 12, 13 laps, I started to smell petrol. And I thought, oh, it'll be all right. Sometimes when the cars are full, they weep a little around the top of the fuel tank, and so I didn't take too much notice of it. And I put the brakes on for Redgate, and coming out of Redgate, the car had a DFV 3 litre V8 Formula One engine, basically, but with sports car cams in it.
Wow.
And you accelerate out of Redgate. By the time you get to Craner Curves, the car's going pretty quickly.
Mm.
And I noticed some smoke on the left-hand side of the car, followed by an immense bang. And by all accounts, the rubber bag tank inside the monocoque, whether it was damaged when the rubber tank was put in, it's put in through an oblong hole, and it's quite sharp aluminium. And I think at some stage, as it was going in, it got a nick
Mm.
in the fuel tank, and during the race, um, it opened and started to fill the left-hand side of the monocoque outside of the bag tank.
Oh Christ.
And some of it escaped. Obviously, I was using the brakes a lot, so the discs were red hot. Some had got onto the discs, caught fire, which I saw the smoke, had got back into the tank, and it just exploded.
Good God.
And the
Is
problem
that when it
was,
hit the exhaust? That it must have leaked back. The vapors must have gone back to the exhaust. Then did it?
yeah, it's either because you can see on the left front wheel is on fire, and I think it certainly started there, came back, and when it exploded, the fuel then went backwards, as you say, probably over the exhaust and so on, and it just went up like a bomb. Um,
Flipping hell. That's not really what you expect when you're suddenly driving a racing car.
no, but it's
Just
funny, isn't it? You have this um, survival instinct, I suppose. I knew I had to slow down and get away from it. But of course, as soon as I slowed down, I was actually then in the fire. The fire was, the
yeah,
car was totally engulfed in the fire.
yeah.
Um, and while I was undoing my belts and so on, all I could think about was that, for fuck's sake, excuse the
Don't.
language, don't breathe in,
Yeah,
because if you do, you're going to scorch your lungs and it's going to kill you.
yeah.
So I held my breath for as long as I could, got out of the car, rolled on the ground, and the marshals came and put me and the car out.
So
They
you
put
were
me in
actually on
hospital
fire
for a while.
yourself, were you?
Yeah, yeah, the oval was caught fire.
Christ.
Um, it was very good. I sent them back and they sent me a new pair, which was great.
Did they? Fair enough. So
uh,
your helmet as well in the book. I mean, I won't try and thumb through, but in the book, which I'd highly recommend, by the way, there's a mega picture of your just completely scorched helmet, like melted helmet.
yeah, I can't tell you how painful it is to sit in a fire like that. Uh,
Oh,
it's
really?
it's it's undescribable. The pain
Right.
is unbelievable. Um, it's like sunburnt, but 100 times worse. It's absolutely horrendous. Um, I closed my eyes because of the pain, and then sadly it sort of welded my eyes shut. Um, so they took me off to hospital, covered me in saline and so on. Um, uh, but it was a very hot day, but I always wear the right gear, the underwear, flame fireproof underwear, long johns, polo neck, balaclava, and then a heavy, as it was in those days, a heavy 3-layer Nomex suit.
Yeah.
Um, and the ambient temperature through the suit when it caught fire uh, killed the top layer of my skin. All my skin was burnt, but it didn't go very deep. I've got one scar on my right arm that was very big, and over the last 40 years or whatever, it's now the size of about a 50p piece.
Oh, really? So it's gradually gone down. Was that as
Yeah,
your layers of skin have just sort of healed, just worn away and then healed? I suppose. Yeah,
yeah,
because you kind of your skin regenerates, doesn't it?
yes, yeah. But what the upshot of that fire was the fact that I can't go near bonfires. I'm frightened to death of fire now. I will
Really?
not drive a racing car if I can smell fuel.
Yeah.
Um, I was driving, the Nissan R90C that Mark Blundell stuck on pole at Le Mans. It was
Oh, goodness.
a,
Do you know
a
what?
nice,
Let me see if I can go back to the photos. I think I can see in this. Is that it?
but
Something like
no,
that?
that's the works Nissan I raced at Le Mans in 1988 with Win
Right.
Percy and Alan Grice. Um, but a similar engine to that
I'll go back to it.
was
Sorry.
put in the back of a carbon tubbed Lola, and Mark put it on pole um, I think 1990 at Le Mans. Very, very quick lap, put it on pole. Um, but I started to race it in historic racing for the owner, which was Henry Pearman at the time. And we were at Donington, funnily enough, again. and they were warming the car up for the race. Went and got changed, came back, and I was watching them warm the car up. And in front of the right-hand turbo, it was a 3 litre or even 3.5 litre V8 copy of a DFE with two big turbochargers on it. We qualified in that car with way over 1,000 horsepower. Very, very strong engine. But I could see something dripping from the back of the monocoque in front of the right-hand turbo. And they turned it off, and it was fuel. So the lads started rushing around. They said, "Oh, we go get Harold Dyke, get this." And I said, "Mate, there's no way I'm sitting in that car. That car's got to have the engine out, the monocoque, carbon monocoque's got to be repaired, and the tank that's inside it, whatever." And I wouldn't drive it
Yeah.
because that far I've never been so frightened in my life.
No.
Basically.
If you just sat, I mean, it's horrendous. I don't think I've seen such a big fireball like that, and been able to walk around it. So it's basically, what do they call it? First degree burns. Is that what it's basically sort of top layers of
Yeah, just the
skin?
top layer. It didn't go. Luckily, it didn't go deep, and I was out of hospital in a few weeks and very sore.
Mm.
Um, and funny enough, I burn quite easily in the sun now,
Do you?
so I don't
Mm.
sunbathe at all.
Yeah, it's a stupid
But I think I
activity
was fairly
anyway.
light skinned anyway, so I always did burn a bit, but it seems to be worse now.
Right, right. I'm loving some of the so that was one a big crash, and I'm loving some of the old photos with your beard. Let's see if I can find out some of them. That is just it looks great. It looks a proper seven. Let me sorry. There's 109 photos here. Here's a good one. Here's a
Oh,
good one.
yes, that
That's
was
Brands by the looks of it. Brands, am I
uh,
right in saying that?
that's Brands. I was using the pit bike to go backwards and forwards to the team and down to the pits on this little pit bike. I can't remember what I was racing at the time. I had big arms then because I was training. I haven't got them anymore. But the beard came about after I did, I think, 7 races in my first year with the little DRW. And the first race of my 1966 season was at Brands Hatch. And I had an accident. Of course, we didn't wear seatbelts then, and I tried to avoid a really nice guy called Pete Lokeman. Had a beautiful little Regio 1172 car, and he spun in the middle of paddock, going down paddock. And being inexperienced, I just assumed he was going to spin to the inside of the circuit, but he didn't. I thought, I've got second place now, or whatever it was, and accelerated past the back of him, but
Yeah,
he didn't spin. He came backwards and pushed me on the grass because I
yeah,
didn't want to hit him. Um, because I would have hurt him if I'd have hit him. So in the driver's side, the cars weren't very strong. So I went off on the grass, and sadly, there was no runoff really, apart from a few feet to the bank. And it was very, very wet, the grass, and I couldn't get the car away, and it slid into the bank and barrel rolled basically upside down, landed on top of me, which snapped my pelvis, broke my arms, and broke my nose. But luckily, as it hit, it broke I went forward and smashed my nose and face into the dashboard,
right,
and it turned all the fuel pumps off and the ignition, which was great. While it was turning over, everything was shut down. Um,
right.
but I'd smashed my face so badly I couldn't shave for ages and ages and ages until it all healed up.
Ah,
Um,
really?
and I grew a beard, and I kept it for, well, 25 years or so.
Is that how it came about? It's amazing.
Look at the
It's
state
funny.
of
Oh, that's proper. That's a proper 70s beard right there. It's funny, actually, when I see pictures of you younger, because obviously I work with Anthony, your son, for
that.
God knows how many years at Silverstone. And it's when I see some older pictures like that, I can totally see him, um, or you in him, I should say.
Yeah. He's a nice lad, my Anthony.
Oh,
as
he's
is my
proper.
son Michael. They're both good lads.
Did Michael race as well? Did he
He
do
did.
any?
He did do a bit of racing. I had for fun on the roads, I had a Westfield with a 1700 cross-flow Ford engine on twin Webbers, and Anthony was very, very keen. Michael probably not so keen initially, but Anthony wanted to race it, so I bought a trailer and I had Vulcan Engineering rebuild the engine into a race engine, and he did the Westfield Championship with it, and he almost won it. He got pushed off as he was lapping a back marker. All he had to do was finish the race, basically, and he got pushed off by a back marker. So Anthony started racing with it, but that got Michael's interest,
Right.
and he did a few races. He was very, very quick, but he sadly had an accident in it at Brands Hatch, which bent the chassis and so on. And I didn't have an immense amount of money, so sadly it had to be sold, and that was the end of Michael's racing career, basically. But while he was going, he was very quick.
Mega. Yeah, it's so good too. Well, I'll talk a little bit later. I'll look at and your grandson as well, and the three
Yes,
generations of it. It's a fantastic.
isn't it?
It's so good. Um, so I was just going to ask you a little bit more about the stuff that you did. So after you raced in, what was it? The DW. What was
The
it called again?
RW, the
DRW. What did
DRW.
that stand for, by the way?
I
DRW.
think it was the initials of David Warwick. He built it in Highgate, and it was the first one he ever made. It was a Mark One. That's it. The first time I ever drove a racing car on a track. Um, I went up to Silverstone to buy it, to test it. I'd met a man called Lou Bergonzi in the 750 Motor Club. I used to go up on my motorbike to Battersea, and we met in a pub, and it was great. It was a special builders group, and people like Len Terry were members and would talk about how they designed and built their specials. He built a special called a Terrier, which raced in 1172, and
That's a
of
great
course he
name.
went on to
And
be
Terry's Terrier.
yeah. Um, he went on to design some really good race cars over the years. Another man was Nigel Bennett. Nigel built his own 750 uh, car to race, and he went on. I worked with him at Firestone Race Tyre Division when I was there for many years before I went professional driving. And Nigel went on to design cars that won for Penske, won the Indy 500 and so on. So I
Oh,
learnt a
right.
lot just from sitting in the pub on a whatever it was, one night during the week, once a month, and they were talking about Ackerman steering and all sorts of things that gave me a good um, insight into how a race car worked and what you should
Yeah.
do when it didn't handle properly. So it was very useful.
Is Nigel Bennett, is he any relation to Colin Bennett?
No, no, sadly missed Colin Bennett.
Yeah. Well, I've heard lots of course, about Colin Bennett and Chevron. And did you race for him? I see you race. Was it a B6? Was it race the Chevron B6? Did I see?
Me, I
Yeah.
did race a B6, and it was a day that changed my life, basically, when I raced a B6. Um, but it was quite a nice story how I met Colin Bennett. I don't know if you want to talk about it now
Yeah.
or later
Totally.
on. Well, when I eventually, after that accident at Brands Hatch in the DRW, I borrowed money from the bank to buy it. It was £280, and I'd been working at Firestone during the day, and I'd go and work in local pubs, the King's Head in Kew Green, pubs in West London, to try and earn some more money. And I'd saved up about £50, which was a lot because I was only earning 3 and 6 and a green apple a week then. Um, so I had to sell the DRW to pay off all the debts and so on. So I became a bit of a beggar. So that nice Anthony Dunn owns a racing car, I'd be knocking on your door, Auntie, can I have a race in your car? And um, it it did work. I managed to get a Formula 4 and raced in Formula 4, and I managed to scrounge a Formula Ford, funnily enough, from a man called Sheridan Thin, who I became really good friends with.
He was a
He was a
Williams guy,
lovely
wasn't he?
man. He eventually went, he was Nigel Mansell's manager eventually
That's
and
it.
worked
Yeah.
for
God.
Williams.
Yeah.
Lovely man. Well, he had a Formula Ford that he let his nephew drive, Richard Cardew, and Richard was faffing about basically, and he seen me race in Formula 4 a few times against Formula Fords, and we chatted, and he said, "Would you like to have it?" It's a Titan Mark IV, and he lent me the car for the year with a trailer, and I had to come up with money to run it, and that's another story. Sorry, I got so many stories, and I'll dash about, but
Oh, mate, just go far away if you've got to.
I went to the PR department at Firestone. I'd been working in the race division for a while, and I went over. I said, "I've got this racing car, and I've got no money to run it. You go, do you think Firestone would give me some money?" And they said, "Not a hope, not a hope." So I said, "Oh, okay." So I went off to try and get some money from somewhere to run it. A few weeks later, I had a phone call from the PR department. "Can you pop over for a chat?" So I went over. Now, Firestone used to supply overalls and anoraks, red with Firestone on, to IndyCar, Formula One, sports cars like John Wise Golf 917s and so on, plus the drivers' overalls. And they were made by a company called Skyjump, and Firestone were just about to give them a huge order for more
Right.
anoraks and racing overalls for all the works drivers around the world. And they said, "You can have the order if you help this lad in Formula Ford." So we
Ah,
ran the
cool.
car under Team Sky Jump. They paid me £500. I never ever saw them, never spoke to them. They weren't interested at all. All they wanted was the order from Firestone for the
Right.
overalls
Yeah.
and anoraks. So that allowed me to do the BOC Formula Ford Championship in the UK and some rounds in the European Formula Ford Championship. I went to Zolder and Paul Ricard and things like that. Racing against Jody Scheckter in a Merlin. It was great.
Oh, really?
Banged wheels with him a few times in Formula Ford.
Mega. He's over in the UK now, isn't he? He's a farmer over in the
Yeah,
UK, I
yeah,
think.
yeah. He's a farmer very close to me.
Oh, is he?
Um, uh, near Thruxton. Yeah.
Ah, is that where
But I
he is?
think he's just selling everything up now. He sold his collection of racing cars, I think Ferraris and stuff, and I think he's possibly selling the farm or sold the farm.
It's funny when I raced in Formula Vauxhall Junior, his son Toby had two sons. I don't, and what was his eldest son who ended up doing Indy cars?
I remember.
Thomas Scheckter.
Oh, that's yeah.
But Toby, I think, was the younger one, and yeah, he raced Vauxhall Junior. And my dad went to, I think it was like, it was one of these rural like music festivals. It was like Hop Farm or something like that. So you'd have like your kind of your grub, on the side, and and the ciders and all the rest of it, and then you'd have your festival, stand at the back. And my dad goes along to this one of these stands, and it's selling cider, and then he realizes it's the brand of Scheckter, and then he realizes, he says, "Recognise you? You're Toby, aren't you?" And he's like, "Yeah." He said, "I'm Barry Dunn. I'm Anthony Dunn's dad. We used to race in Vauxhall Junior together." He's like, "Good God!" It's like, randomly at a music festival. It's funny.
Yeah,
Good God,
absolutely.
yeah. So you're at the
But
front
yeah,
end
so
in
that got me
Formula
in.
Ford.
That got me in Formula Ford, and at the end of the year, I gave the car back. Well, in fact, he said if you can sell it, sell it. So I sold it on behalf of Sheridan Thin, and that basically meant I had to go back begging. And A mutual friend introduced me to a guy called Jeremy Sumner who had a B6 Chevron, and I kept asking him, can I have a race in your Chevron? Can I have a race in your Chevron? And he kept saying no, but eventually he said, yes, okay, you can have a race in it at Brands Hatch. I'm doing the GT race. There isn't another race for GT cars, but if you want to drive my car, there's a Formula Libre race. He said it'll be all single-seater racing cars, so you won't have any chance in the race. So I entered the Royal Tunbridge Wells Trophy at Brands, and luckily for the race, it rained. I have no
Right.
idea why. I really enjoy racing in the rain. I love feeling the car sliding around underneath me and so on. And I've been usually reasonably quick in the wet, and I managed to win the race outright,
Did
uh,
you?
beating all the single seaters, and won the Royal Tunbridge Wells Trophy, which, funny enough, I never received. But um, uh,
Random.
I then drove the car back into the paddock afterwards, and Jeremy said, "I can't believe what you've just done." And he said, "You've obviously got some talent for driving. I have to help you." And he went off and spoke to two guys who he worked with, Colin Phillips and Sid Pierce, who owned a company called Dempster Developments. And they were quite keen to start a race team. Prior to this, a man who is one of my best friends to this day, I met him at Ian Carter's when I was racing Formula 4, and Ian Carter was tuning Hillman imp engines. We used Hillman imp engines in the back of these single-seaters. John used to let me race his Formula 4, and he very kindly, his father, Jack, said he was going to put John in Formula 3. He was going to buy a Formula 3 car. And John, I'll be eternally grateful to him, said, look, Mike is so much faster. Why don't we put Mike in the car? I'd rather see him doing well in that car than me drive myself. So I went for a meeting at the Hilton in Trader Vic's. I don't know if you ever went to Trader Vic's. It was
I've heard of it. Where's that then?
it's at the bottom of the Hilton in Park Lane. And I went to meet Sid Phillips and Colin Pierce of Dempster Developments. And they said, we've heard about you from Jeremy Sumner. What do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to go and get to Formula One. And the first step on my ladder would be I'd like to race in Formula 3. And they said, how much would it cost? And I had been working with John on a budget uh, because there were two British Formula 3 championships in 1972.
Okay.
I drove the Formula 40 in 71. In 72, there was the Lombard North Central and the Forward Trust championships. Plus, there was a John Player European Formula 3 championship. And to do all three, it would cost £35,000. Well, £35,000 in 1972 is probably £500,000 in today's money. And they said, we're going to have to talk about this. So they said, would you excuse us? And they went off and had a chat, came back and said, well, we'll do this on one condition. And I said, great, what's the condition? Thinking it might be something horrendous. And they said, you would have to come and work for us and concentrate 100% on racing the car. I'd already told them that I'd got the racing car with John and Jack Cabell, but we needed the running costs. So I went home to my sadly missed wife, Chrissy, at the time and said, I've been offered the job of being a racing driver because I had a very secure job at Firestone.
Hmm.
And she said, no, go for it. So I left Firestone. I gave a month's notice and I suddenly was a professional racing driver
Mega.
and going into Formula 3 for that season.
Mega.
And I did all three championships, which was absolutely stupid. I was never out of the car, which was great,
Yeah.
but I should have concentrated maybe on one or two, but to do three probably diluted it a bit. I finished third in one of the British Championships, and I finished sixth in Europe, I think.
Mm.
But it was fantastic experience, and especially in sorting gear ratios, and I met Colin Bennett. I was racing Formula 4 at Snetterton, and I was just trying a bit too hard. I braked a bit late down into the hairpin on the old circuit. I spun and I hit the bank backwards, and it bent the chassis. So it was delivered back to the pits, to the paddock, and I was putting it on the trailer when this chap came up to me and said, "Oh, what's up, mate?" And I said, "Oh, I've just hit the bank and bent the chassis. I'm going to take it home, try and get it repaired." Now, this was Colin Bennett. He was running Emerson Fittipaldi in a Formula 2 Lotus 59 or 69 at that time under Jim Russell sponsorship.
All right.
And he ran it from Snetterton, from the workshops of Jim Russell Racing.
Yeah.
So he said, "Come on, let's get it off." So we took it off the trailer. Colin and I and a few friends pushed it over to the workshop. Colin stripped it all down, cut it, repaired the chassis, all in time for me to go and do my race. And wouldn't accept a penny from me for doing it. And we just got an instant bond, basically. So he helped me that day and I did the race and everything was great. So when I wanted to start in Formula 3, we didn't have a mechanic. The first person I phoned was Colin, and he came and worked for us. And he ran me in Formula 3 in 1972, Formula 3 in 73, and Formula 5000. He and I built the car together. He did all the work. I just stood there and made the tea and coffee, and he
So
built a
Colin Bennett
Formula
was your
5000.
mechanic. That is very cool.
Yeah, he was great, and he was always very complimentary about how I drove the cars and so on. And we became such good friends. I was best man when he got married to Jill.
No way. I'm going to see if I can find some of the F3 photos. Help me out here if you can see on any of these
Yeah, that's
thumbnails.
5,000.
That's
Um,
5,000. What's that? Is
that's
that
that's a Formula One. It's a March 761. I used to do a lot of testing for a man who had a collection of cars called Aber Kogan,
Abba
and
Kogan? Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
uh, he would get me to set up his cars prior to a season. So that's me testing before Monaco. We used to go to Mallory Park so that I could get the gearing right because the station hairpin was about as tight as Mallory's hairpin. So I used to do
Right.
the gear ratios, bed in the new diffs and get it all ready. And that's one of his, that's Katsu Kubota's car, is to test cars for Katsu as well, save him coming over from Japan. That was the car that Ronnie Peterson won the Italian Grand Prix in 1976. That's a 761, I think. Yeah, 1976. He won the Italian Grand Prix in it.
There's so many photos. I mean, I looked on your website and I looked on Facebook. There's 109 photos in here. I can't, but there's 60 years worth of racing here, and I don't it's like, where do you start? I mean,
I,
goodness me.
that guy there by my left front wheel, that was in qualifying for the Italian Grand Prix in 1974 in the Works Ensign with Mo Nunn standing on the right hand side. But that's Nigel Bennett doing my tyre temperatures and
Ah,
pressures.
really?
Bless him, yeah. But that's how we went Formula One. One toolbox, one mechanic, Mo Nunn and me.
Wow. It's amazing, isn't it? So how did the story go that you went from F1 to F3 to F1? What was the stepping stone?
Well, the stepping stone was Formula 5000. I wanted to go Formula 2 because lots of Grand Prix drivers were driving Formula 2 as well as Formula 1 at the time.
Yeah.
I thought to test my mettle against Formula 1 guys in Formula 2 was the way to go. But Dempster sadly uh, wanted more racing in the UK than Europe. So it was decided that we would go into Formula 5000. And to be honest, and apologies to March Engineering, but I wanted to get a Lola T332 because it seemed to be the quickest car at the time. Bob Evans had got one, and Brian Redman had got one. Lots of the David Hobbs, they'd all had Lola 332s. But I'd been driving a March at the end of 1973. I had a March 733, which was a superb little car, and I started to win some good Formula 3 races in that car. And of course, Dempster were quite close with March, so March persuaded Dempster to buy a new March 741 Formula 1 car without engine and gearbox, and put a Chevy V8 in the back to run in Formula 5000, European Formula 5000. So what we did was they didn't have the capacity to do it in the factory. So there was a guy who made the Boxer Formula 2. Was it Brian? Anyway, guy was making Formula 2 cars at Cobham Airfield in his workshop called a Boxer, Boxer. And we rented space off his workshop, and we had the chassis delivered down there. And Colin, bless his heart, did all the engineering and design work to put the Chevy in the back of this 741 Formula 1 chassis. And quite hilarious going from 120 horsepower Formula 3 car into a 500 horsepower Formula 1 car, basically, built with a
Good God.
big cast iron V8 in the back.
Let's see
So
if I
it's
can
a lot of
find a
weight there.
see if
Yeah,
I
it
can
was.
find a photo of one of these. You tell me what if you see anything of what, because I don't really know what to look. I know what an F3 5000 car looks like. Is that an F5000 there?
No, that's an Ensign Formula 1
Oh wow. Okay. Okay.
and testing at Silverstone. Um, I
That's
can't.
F1 as well, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a Shadow.
Yeah. You tell me if you see. Oh, that was that the F3 car? Or is
No,
that
that's the Formula 2 Rolt. I won the
right? Right. Okay.
championship in. That's a DN3B. Um,
Hang on. What have we got
there it
here?
is. That's the 5000. So
Ah. Okay.
that's the 741 Formula 1 chassis with a Chevrolet. That the first Chevrolet engine we put in it had four downdraft twin choke Webers on. We eventually it wasn't quite strong enough, so we went to an Alan Smith crossover fuel injected Chevy, which was much faster. And but that was my first ever Formula 5000 race at Brands Grand Prix circuit. I qualified near the back, learning the car, um, but eventually I overtook Ian Ashley was running fourth, I think, in the Lola. I overtook Ian. In third position at the time was Brian Redman in another Lola, and I overtook him. And I couldn't catch Peter Gethin was leading. He was in the works Chevron, and the I finished second to Peter Gethin in my first 5000 race, so that was a really
Mega.
good start. I finished second in my second one to David Hobbs. Suddenly, I was leading the European Championship, and things were pretty good, going pretty well until I got to Thruxton. Now, the week before Thruxton, I had a phone call from Max Mosley. Funnily enough, I was sitting in I was up, there was a lad called Mick Hill who used to race super saloons. He built amazing big V8 saloon cars. And I was sitting with him when I had this phone call. And it was in May 1974. And Hans Stuck was their works driver at the time. And he broke his thumb in an incident at Monaco. Now, in 2 weeks' time, there was a Swedish Grand Prix. So they phoned me and said, how do you fancy standing in for Hans at the Swedish Grand Prix? I mean, I was over the moon. This was going to be the achievement of my ambition. So I said, of course, I'd love to. Maybe I could drive the car first and what have you, and they were going to try and sort that out. But I had a race in that Formula 5000 at Thruxton the weekend before the Swedish Grand Prix. And I was going well. I was running second, I think, to Bob Evans in his Lola 332. And I was lapping a man called Tony Dean on the way up towards the chicane. Now, these cars were pulled probably 180 plus miles an hour up towards the chicane. And as I went past him on the right-hand side, for some reason, he drifted across and his right front hit my left rear and
Oh,
put
God.
me in a spin. And I tried to fight the car and save it, but stupidly I hung on to it too long. As it hit the barrier, it snapped my left wrist.
Ah,
So I couldn't do the Swedish Grand Prix the following weekend. I was in had to have an operation on my scaphoid, and Rainer Wiesel drove it instead of me, which was a
ah,
shame. But that's
God.
how I basically was offered my first Formula One drive,
Mm.
and then Mo Nunn. I had been racing an ensign before the March in Formula 3, and Mo Nunn said, would you like to drive the car? Vern Schuppen had left because the car sadly wasn't really up to the job. And I went to the Italian Grand Prix and didn't qualify. Went to the Austrian Grand Prix, didn't qualify. Went to Canada, didn't qualify. Um, and the prime reason was that every time I turned left in the car and loaded it with some G, it lost fuel pressure. So when you
Ah,
push the throttle down, the engine didn't respond initially until
right,
till you unloaded it and the fuel pressure came back up and it would accelerate.
right.
On top of that, Bernie Eccleston wouldn't let me have qualifying tyres. There were a few people like Tony Trimmer, myself, we were not allowed to have qualifying tyres. So it made it very difficult when there are 30 cars going for 25 places on the grid. So give Mo Nunn his due. He, between Canada and America, he said, we can't go on like this. I'll redesign the whole fuel system. And he did that. And I went to Watkins Glen for the American Grand Prix in 1974, October, beginning of October. And I managed to do laps in that car doing left-hand corners without it losing fuel pressure.
Ah,
And
okay.
out of 30, I qualified 22nd. And I qualified next to my hero, Ronnie Peterson. I was only, I think, 2/10 slower than Ronnie in his JPS Lotus 72.
Wow.
Um, and to be honest, it was a bit surreal.
Yeah.
How could I be going the same? I mean, Ronnie obviously had a bad quality because he was down in 21st position or so, and I was 22nd. But I was in front of Graham Hill and uh, Bram Biller, Tim Schenkin, all these other people um, who didn't even get in the race, which was great. I mean, I was next to Graham Hill on the grid, but some of the other guys, the Works Marches, didn't qualify. Tim Schenkin in the Works Lotus didn't qualify. So I was obviously driving pretty well when the
Yeah.
car was right. Um, but the
What?
ironic thing was
So I was
that
just going to ask, what color, what colors, what does a car look like? I'll see if I can
it
grab it
was
on
green.
screen. I'm not sure
It
if
was
I've got...
green and had Team Ensign on it. It was that
Wow.
car that was in Italy.
Right.
But there might be a picture there in Watkins Glen. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. It'll be in your book anyway, if you don't
Yeah,
see it on
it is in
screen
the
here.
book.
Yeah. Sorry, you were saying the ironic thing.
The ironic thing was that, I must tell you about my fastest lap. Because we couldn't have qualifying tyres, we had to qualify in race tyres, whereas everybody else had quali tyres. Um, I set off with the brand new set of race tyres on the car and scrubbed them in a bit on the warm-up lap, and then set off on what I hope would be a really good lap. But every time I looked in the mirror, I had Jody Scheckter behind me, in his works Tyrrell. And Jody was quite an aggressive character. Um, there was a book around at the time called Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and it was a book about a colony of seagulls, and the most aggressive seagull, his name was Fletcher. And not to his face, and I apologise to you, Jody, if you watch this, but we all called him Fletcher. So if anybody said, "Are you looking for Jody?" they'd come up and say, "How are you? Have you seen Fletcher anywhere?" And we knew who he was talking about because he was so aggressive. So anyway, I got my head down and I thought, I can't let him by. I've got to. This is the best tyres I'm going to have. This is the lap. So I pressed on, and every time I looked in the mirror, Jody was there, and I pressed on and pressed on and pressed on, and I finished my lap, and it put me 22nd on the grid. I was ecstatic, absolutely over the moon.
Mega.
Coming out of the showers after quali, and Ken Tyrrell came up to me and said, Mike, Jody's looking for you. And I thought, I know what's coming. And I thought, I drove my heart out. I deserve to be on this grid, and I'm not going to take any bull. So I walked down to see Jody. He was talking to somebody, so I waited. And then when he'd finished, I went up to him with my finger and I put it in his chest. "You looking for me?" Expecting him to say, "Why do you get out of my way?" or whatever. And he said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." He said, "I just wanted to tell you how well you were making that shit ensign go." So it was a backhanded compliment, really.
Yeah, nice. Nice. So
But
did you...
the ironic thing about that race was, and we'd overcome the fuel problems. The guy was raising the American flag to start the race, dropped it at that precise moment. The DFV fuel pressure relief valve gave up. So
No.
I'm sitting there at 8,000 RPM, ready to drop the clutch. It lost fuel pressure, and the engine
Oof.
basically almost stopped. As soon as I
Wow.
took my foot off the throttle, that if I just tweaked the throttle a little bit, I could get enough pressure. I lost 6 laps, I think, by poodling
Wow.
around the inside, trying to get it back to the pits. When I got it back to the pits, Mo then went and found, they let the reserve, which I think was Tim Schenken, go out to join the race because I'd gone in the pits. But luckily, Mo found a pressure relief valve, fitted it, and he said, "You might as well go out and get the experience." So I went out and had a dice with, bless his heart, Chris Amon, another sadly missed friend. And he was driving a BRM, and they pulled Schenken off the circuit. And so I finished, but I wasn't classified because I'd lost so many laps.
Yeah, it's lost so many laps.
But that drive and dicing with Chris got me my BRM drive for the following year.
Mega. Mega. So then you got a full season with BRM then, did you? How
It
did it
should have been.
work?
It should have been.
I think I've got some photos of that somewhere here. Yeah. What does a BRM look like? A BRM, funnily enough.
Yeah.
Very pro, Dunny. 1970s F1 car.
It was no car number 14.
That was it? It's another one that's in your book. So
But
how was that car?
the car itself, the chassis was really good. Um, Basically, after the racing, Watkins Glen, a portly gentleman called Louis Stanley came up and spoke to me. He said, "I've never heard of you. You're dicing with our car. Do you have a drive for next year?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Come and see me in London." He kept a suite at the Dorchester in Park Lane 365 days a year, whether he used it or not. I don't think he paid for it. I think his wife, Jean Owen, was the finance behind him. Uh, but I went up to London and met him in the suite at the Dorchester, and he offered me a drive, but he wouldn't pay me. He'd give me, I think he'd get me to the circuits and so on and so forth, but he wouldn't pay a wage. And I said, "Well, you're paying the mechanics, the team manager. Surely, as a driver, I deserve to be paid." He said no. So I started begging again. I went back to Dempster, and bless them, they paid me £60 a week to go and drive for BRM. Um,
So you managed to like
uh,
cover your, basically get a basic wage, and
yeah,
so
I
you could
mean, my
live.
flat in London then was 20 quid a month. So, I could live on 60 quid a month, um, 60 quid a week, I mean. It was an interesting experience. I went, they wanted me to test at Snetterton, so I went and drove a P160 in a test at Snetterton, and it was a great car, lovely chassis. Um, Chris Amon was there on the same day testing the P201, which was their latest car. Um, he had to leave at lunchtime, so in the afternoon I got put in the P201, and a great chassis, but the engine, having driven Cosworth DFE V8s, the engine really did lack torque and also lacked power. It felt as though the engine had maybe 400 horsepower, where you could get 500 horsepower out of a DFE.
Right, right.
And we were revving the BRM to 12 and a half, I think it was. Um, so I went out and started. The brakes were good, the handling was good, but it just lacked power.
Mm.
Uh, and it was before all the changes to Snetterton, and I was pulling fourth gear past the pit lane when it put two rods out the side of the block.
Oh,
So that was the end of that test session. Um, but they didn't seem too concerned. Oh, we'll have that fixed ready for the first race in Argentina in January 1975. So anyway, I signed a contract. He gave me £1, and I signed the contract, £1 to make it legal.
right.
And I met James Hunt and his wife at the racing car show in early January at Olympia. And James said, "Oh, you wouldn't be Susie's travel companion to Argentina, would you? Because I can't go on that flight." Can you imagine sitting next to Susie Hunt all the way to Buenos Aires? It was awesome. She was beautiful. So that was a pretty tough gig. So it was
Now
actually,
that's something that. Hang on a second. I have got. Uh, bear with. Yeah.
yes, they
Can
were
you see
playing
that?
Scalextrics against each other. So she wasn't a bad young lady to sit next to for 20 hours or whatever it was on the plane.
Brilliant. So did you get to know James
Yeah,
around that sort of
yeah,
time?
yeah. Well, we raced Formula 3 against each other and did a few silly things. Again, stories in the book.
Oh,
I
tell us a couple of them if you don't mind.
Well, I'll tell you one. One that I can tell. Um, the We were racing at Paul Ricard, and after qualifying or what have you, this was in Formula 3, we would go down to a little village on the south coast called Bandol, and there was a bar where lots of the race drivers used to go and sit, and it was by a roundabout on the coast road, and you exited the roundabout and went off and out of the village along towards Saint-Tropez. So we're sitting there one night, and the local lads would come with their cars and go sideways round the roundabout, showing off to everybody sitting in the bar. And James thought it would be a very, very good idea to make it a little more interesting for them. So he at the time had a transit van, and like all of us, we changed the oil in the race cars quite often, and it was good enough to put in our road cars when we wanted to change the oil on our road cars. So James had a 5-gallon drum of used oil in the back of his transit van. Well, he and Andy Sutcliffe decided Andy would get in the back of the truck. It wasn't a full 5-gallon, it would probably had 2 or 3 gallons of it in there. And they disappeared in the transit van. The next thing I see them coming along the coast road, back doors open, and Andy's tipping the oil, spreading it across the road, and then round the roundabout and up this little hill before a left-hander out of Bandol. So they go and park, and we sit. Nothing happens for a while, but the cars are spreading the oil, and it's getting more and more slick. The first thing that happened, it was terrible. First thing that happened was a chap with his girl on the back, sitting side saddle on his Vespa, came into the roundabout, and it just was like hitting ice. They were off. They fell off this scooter, and it just got worse and worse. In the end, the boys, the local lads, were doing all their sideways stuff around the roundabout, and then of course the police started to arrive. A chap with a big caravan behind his car came round the roundabout and tried to get up the hill and couldn't because his wheels were spinning. He couldn't. It was so much oil. Anyway, the police got involved, and it was all very silly. And of course, we all had nothing to do with it, of course.
Yeah, yeah. Just watching, mate,
But it's
from the
that
pub.
sort of thing we used to do, and it was hilarious.
Yeah,
So
some
yeah,
great
I knew
stories.
James because then obviously um, we did a lot of Formula 3 races against each other, not in the 1 litre, but in the 1600 era. And
What sort of year?
then
Because in the film Rush, they depicted Nicky Lauda as racing against him in F3. What sort of year was
I
this?
think
And
that would have been 1 litre, which I started in 72. So that would have probably been in 1970, 71 when it was 1 litre,
right, right,
which
right.
I really desperately wanted to get to. I'll never forgive Andy Marriott. He ran the Patonia 1 litre March Formula 3 team, and they ran 3 cars. One of their drivers sadly had a very bad accident and damaged the driver a little bit. So they were looking for another driver. And bless her heart, my wife said, I'm going to phone Andy Marriott. She phoned him and said that he should give the drive to me. And I spoke to him, but he gave it to somebody else. I can't remember who. I've never forgiven him.
Were you quite shy back then? It's interesting how your wife
Oh,
approached
well,
it.
I mean, that was really unusual for her to
Right.
do that. But she was so supportive of me. It was incredible. Um, and I was amazed that she managed to get Andrew's number and phone to try and get me to drive. She was wonderful. She
Oh, it's
died
brilliant.
15 years ago of cancer, sadly.
Yeah, I saw that in the book, and you always mention whenever it's a birthday, or let me see if I can drag this up. Bear with me. I'll share a picture of Chrissy because you do spend a lot of time, talking well about her.
Yeah, she was so beautiful, and she was a beautiful nature, which has carried through to my sons. They're lovely boys, and they've taken their mum's nature. I met her the day I had that massive accident at Brands Hatch in my DRW. We were parked next. I'd taken my current girlfriend to Brands Hatch that day. Pippa, her name was, and
Ah, right. No,
we
right.
parked
Okay. Yeah.
we parked next door to a chap called Mike Bott who was racing uh, a Mallock U2 in the same formula as me, and we became friends. Well, he was there with his wife, Joyce, and Joyce's sister, Chrissy, had gone along on her first ever visit to a racetrack. And I met Chrissy during the day, and because of my accident, I lost all memory of that day. And Pippa, my girlfriend, never came to see me in hospital, but Chrissy did come to see me, and we basically, I was in hospital for many, many months in traction with my snapped pelvis, and she used to come and visit, and that was it. We were boyfriend and girlfriend from then on, and we got married in 1966, so just under 2 years later.
Yeah. So pretty much, really, from the formation of when you started racing, then.
Yeah, yeah. And she
Amazing.
was, I'm sure she worried, but she was just 100% supportive. And I think she was one of the most beautiful women in the world, really.
Oh, that's magic. So, did she like motor racing?
Uh, I
Or did
think
she tolerate it?
she enjoyed it, but I don't think she particularly liked it. But she liked it because I was going along. I met Penny, the current Mrs. Wilds, gosh, about 11, 12 years ago now. And Penny came to watch me race at Thruxton 2 or 3 weeks ago. And she doesn't understand it. But by all accounts, while I was racing and doing well, she was jumping up and down and shouting. So they do get involved, which is great.
Mega. Yeah. I see there's another face. You mentioned a name we both knew, although I didn't particularly know him well, which was David Leslie. So from, let's see if I can find a photo back from him. So you raced together. What did you race together in?
A couple of things. Excuse me. That's Ray Mallock and David Leslie drove together at the Brands Hatch 1000 Ks, and they won the C2 class, and uh, I'm looking at disappointed second. With my
Right.
co-driver was Mark Douay, a Belgian rally driver who was very, very quick, a really good co-driver. So David and I did drive a lot together, and the Curiacos used to, um, you had twin-bedded rooms, and you basically stayed with your co-driver, and so I shared rooms with quite a lot of race drivers over those 4 years with Akira Koss. But David was mega, very, very fast, um, and one of the nicest men you could ever wish to meet.
Yeah.
And him getting killed in the plane crash was just so tragic.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when it happened. I mean, I've mentioned this on a podcast once or twice before. So my dad had a garage in Bloxham in Oxfordshire. It was just a BMW specialist, and we were talking about. I had my dad actually on the podcast in the last episode, just for a talk as a sort of lad and dad in motorsport kind of thing.
Right.
And but when I raced in Vauxhall Junior, and of course, you're avidly reading Autosport every week when it was available weekly. When it was the only thing you could, if you want to find out motorsport news, it was either motoring news or Autosport, right? And of course, David Leslie at the time was racing for Honda with RML, actually,
Yes. Yeah.
building the cars. And And yeah, and there he was sat in our showroom in Bloxham, and he moved in to the village along with
Oh,
half of the other motor racing fraternity that all kind of descended around the Oxfordshire region. And when we had Kelvin Burt, who I think Kelv still lives in. Oh no, he's moved to Woodstock now actually. But like Pete Dumbreck, Darren Turner. It was just loads of people moved in, but David moved into the village, and so he was there. I was kind of sat in service reception. It's like, what's David Leslie doing in our showroom? But it was really cool. We were just like, oh, God, I'm going to talk to him. He's a big touring car star. And then,
yeah,
of course, his dad was running like the Vauxhall Junior
yeah. His dad
team,
was
I
a lovely
think.
man too. I also he co-drove with me in a Lola T530 Can-Am in some Thundersport races. Uh, there's a nice picture of we won. That's it. We won together at Alton Park. It was just always such a pleasure to drive with him. There was no ego. Um, it, when we raced in the World Championship, Ray, David, myself, it's great when you drive for a team, you get on with all the drivers. We all use the same seat, pedal positions, everything. We all compromised a little bit, but we were still all quick, and we would devise what lap time we were going to do at Le Mans. So we were right, this is the lap time we are going to do. And we all managed really. Um, it's amazing how you could get in a rhythm and do laps of 8 miles within a tenth, lap after lap after lap. It's incredible. You
Mm.
just do the same thing in the same place and so on. And all three of us, there wasn't one. I've driven for endurance teams where there's been a guy, I got to be quickest, and goes and routes the car because he just wants to go fast.
Yeah.
And to drive for 4 years with these guys were four of the happiest years of my 60 years of racing.
Was that because of the egos were in check? Because it's definitely a different mentality on endurance racing from sprint racing. Because sprint racing, you're fighting for every corner, every lap, all the time.
Yeah,
Whereas, I mean, I'm only from my perspective in terms of longer distance stuff. It's only ever been like 24-hour kart races, but you can always tell the difference between someone who's done like 2 hour, 2.5 hour stints in the heat of Dubai that wouldn't fight for every single corner, and you'd work together as a pairing. I've done,
yes,
few
yeah.
stints, when you follow in, and then you'll get a bit of traffic, and then he'll go past, and then you'll follow him, and then you'll get a bit of traffic, and then you'll go past. Whereas the sprint guys will just lunge at every given opportunity, and it's a different mindset, and it's
So
definitely a different
yeah,
ego.
it is. But as Matt Kelly tell you, on a sprint race, I'm as good at lunging as anybody. Um, so I think some of the heroes I have in motor racing, for instance, Brian Redman. Now, Brian, very quick in a Formula One car, amazing in endurance racing. Um, whatever he got in, he was so versatile. Whether it's short races, long races, whatever, he was always very quick and competitive. And I like to think, I'm not comparing myself with any of these great drivers or whatever, but I like to think that I could do a good job in a touring car, a sports car, a GT car, a Formula car. Um, I would never be out and out the quickest, but I could be quick enough that somebody would pay me to do it.
Yeah, you'd be somewhere near.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but as a driver, to drive with people of the caliber of David Leslie and Ray Mallock and so on. I mean, Ray, what a superb engineer he is. Uh, to work with these people, it was wonderful.
That's brilliant. And like, I mean, as I say, there's so many photos, and if anyone's watching this, and I would really, point them towards the book. There's so many different things, and where do you start in all the different cars?
Me
Where
flying an
did this?
aeroplane.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, so this is fixed wing, is it? Where? How did that all come about? What did you just? Because did you take like a career? Did it get to a point when you'd sort of finished in sports cars in racing, and then you decided to do instructing? How did that, how
Not
did this all
not
come about?
really. It was I got my fixed wing license way back in the 70s because I lived near an airport and I used to see them flying around. And I went and had a trial lesson, and I got hooked with flying. So um, I got my fixed wing license probably mid 70s, and it was just for fun. I didn't really use it for anything apart from go flying when I wanted to get off the ground. Um, However, it, I put all my eggs in. I tried to put all my eggs in the motor racing basket, and you never know if you're going to get another contract or a drive the following year.
Hmm.
So I had the lovely Chrissy as a wife, and we ended up with a mortgage, and we ended up with two children. I really needed a backstop if it all went wrong and I couldn't race anymore. I had another profession that I could fall back on.
Yeah.
It sort of A friend of mine owned a helicopter company in High Wycombe at Booker Airfield. Um, Peter Millward, a lovely man, and he was always very, very kind to me. He had a collection of racing cars. He had a Lola T70, the Lola T70 Aston Martin that John Surtees, David Hobbs drove at Le Mans unsuccessfully. Um, but he said, "Why, when you're not racing, why don't you come and do a bit of work for us?" He said, "You're quite personal. Well, maybe you could buy and sell some helicopters for us." So I started doing that as well as racing,
Hmm.
and I took my helicopter license with with his company. I took to it quite well enough that they would say, "Oh, we've got a helicopter that needs delivering to Dublin or Perpignan or somewhere." And I would deliver all these helicopters around Europe. Suddenly
Cool.
I'd built up about 1,000 hours.
Yeah.
And thinking about a job, um, I would love to teach people to fly helicopters. There's
Hmm.
such fascinating things to fly. So I took all the exams and the flight tests and so on and became a helicopter instructor. So I did that sort of on a freelance basis. When I wasn't racing, I'd fly helicopters, and um, I did a lot of what I sold quite a few helicopters, which helped me buy my first Porsche with the commission. Um, I would sell a helicopter to somebody for Skyline, which was Peter's company, and as an incentive, they pay retail price for the helicopter, and I'd teach them to fly it as part of the deal.
Right. Okay.
That's how it worked.
So that was like the incentive to
Yeah,
buy it from them then.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What a great idea.
It was good, and I did it 8,000 hours of it,
Did you?
which is quite a lot.
I think I remember when I first met you. You were talking about the helicopter flying. It's always fascinated me. Have you had any moments or any interesting clients?
Y- I've had some interesting clients. I did have um, a couple of incidents in helicopters. I had an engine failure, very low level, going into Sywell once. It transpired that the fuel gauge was wrong. I took it that I had enough fuel without actually checking the tank, and it ran out of fuel when I was about 400 feet from Sywell, and I
God.
tried to enter auto rotation, but I was too low to get into auto rotation. So
Yeah.
did a bit of a heavy landing, which damaged the aircraft, but luckily not me.
Right.
Um, I had a hydraulic failure once flying down from Scotland in a Jet Ranger. I was a Beam Leicester, and suddenly the controls locked up when the hydraulic fluid disappeared. So I did an emergency landing, but I managed to cope with it and flew the aircraft onto the runway like an aeroplane because I couldn't move the controls easily, so you
So
couldn't
it was
bring
like
it to a
super
hover.
stiff, was it? What
Yeah,
happens when you lose hydraulics?
it just seizes up with the hydraulics. It's lovely and smooth, and then suddenly you can move it, but it's very, very difficult to move.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I wouldn't be able to bring it to hover, so I just flew it and landed it like an airplane, just ran it on at 60 knots, and
With
then
you.
lever down, and that was fine.
Yeah.
So not too many incidents at all in 8,000 hours.
Mm.
Um, Never had a problem in an aeroplane. Um, I still have a passion for it, uh, but I'm probably a bit too old to do it now.
Yeah, yeah.
I can still race though.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, tell you before. Well, I want to ask you about your current racing, but we touched a little bit earlier about your son's racing. Let's see if I can drag up this because I think this was one of the cars that you shared with Anthony, and this was kind of when I first met Anthony when he was must have been racing this with
Yeah, isn't
you.
that
Is
lovely?
this?
This was about 2016.
Oh, right. So it was earlier
I
when
was
I met
coaching a
Anthony.
man called Dave Summers. Dave is one of my best friends now. Um, I coached him. How we met, I did some development work on a Porsche 911 with a Manti kit on it for a customer. He then decided to sell the car. He sold it through JZM and Kings Langley. And when Dave Summers went to buy it, I think they said, Mike knows this car. You should maybe have him do a bit of instruction with you when you've got the car, because he was going to do some track days. So I did some track days with him, and we became such good friends. We did lots and lots of track days. He became very, very quick, so I didn't have to instruct him anymore. And he said he'd like to go motor racing. So I assumed that he and I would be driving the Ferrari that he subsequently bought, which was a 458 challenge car. He upgraded it a little to make it an Evo, so it had GT3 rear diffuser and different aero on the front. But he very kindly, we got so close that the first race was a 4-hour race at Snetterton for Britcar, and he said, "Oh, I've got a surprise for you when you come up." And I said, "Oh, thanks, mate." Didn't really know what it was, and because he felt that we should celebrate that I'd done over 50 years of racing, walked into the garage and he'd done the Ferrari in my helmet colours, which was
Mega.
amazing.
Ah,
And
yeah.
we ran it all year in. It was emotional for me because obviously Chrissy, my wife, had designed my helmet in
Yeah.
1972 when I turned professional. That's me with my very young grandson Spencer, who's now karting at the age of 15.
Yeah.
He always gave me a kiss before I went to drive, which was great. Um, so we did the 4-hour race. I thought I was going to drive with Dave Summers, but he said, "No, I just want to be on the pit wall doing strategy for fuel stops and tyre changes and stuff like that." And he put Anthony in the car with me, which was Anthony's first ever paid drive. And we went out in the race. I think Anthony started. I did the second stint. Um, and I finished the race. Everybody else made a pit stop for fuel right towards the end of the race, and we decided. I cut the revs and just drove as hard as I could in the corners and so on to see if I could get to the end without making the pit stop, which would mean we could win the race. And just after that picture was taken, it ran out of fuel.
No.
So it just worked. So we won overall the 4-hour race. And it's something special to win a race with your son. It's
Yeah.
the first outright race we'd ever won together. We'd won the class in BMWs and so on before, but we'd never had an outright win. And we went on to win the class in the championship. And what I didn't realise is that Ferrari invites you to Maranello and do a big dinner and a prize giving to thank you for winning a championship in a Ferrari.
Yeah, right.
So I went out with Anthony and we had this big dinner, and
Have a photo of
there's
that,
probably
actually.
50 odd drivers who'd won championships from all over the world.
Is that it there?
That Ferrari were presenting prizes to say thank you for winning in a Ferrari.
Brilliant.
And to do it with your son was incredible. It was great.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's amazing also to 'cause did you race a few things with him? I see that there's some other Britcar stuff that I
Yeah, I raced
saw.
this
Was this
BMW.
earlier?
This was in about 2008.
Right.
Um,
I
I
think it
never
was
knew when
around
I
then
went.
when I met Anthony, I think.
Say again.
I think it was around about that time when I met Anthony when he started
Yeah.
working at
So
Silverstone, I
we raced
think.
together in two. We won the class championship 2008 with that little 2-litre X-Works BMW. It's great. It revved to 10. It was an amazing little
Really?
2-litre thing,
No way.
six-cylinder 2-litre. But I never knew that when I turned it into Corum that it just lifted up on two wheels without touching a curb.
Oh, wow.
It was so stiff. It was awesome little car. So we
Proper.
won 2008, and then we won again, yeah, another year, but I can't remember. So we won 2 Britcar Championships with that car, with the car's owner, Ian Lawson, who very
Oh,
kindly let us drive with him.
mega.
And so well, I think, that was another of Ian's cars. We won, no, we came second. I think a closed Radical GT car won the race.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
it was
This is at
a
Rockingham,
race
isn't it?
at Rockingham.
Yeah.
We came
What a pretty
second. That
car
was
that is.
a GG3 BMW. It was good fun.
Yeah, lovely.
So I raced that with Anthony.
It's brilliant when the three generations are there. So this is Spencer then is that but is
Yeah,
that
Spencer in the
Anthony's
middle. That
son?
was at least a couple of years ago. We went to Daytona one very cold and wet December day, and they did a 2-hour race. So we all raced the same car as a team, which was just wonderful.
Yeah, brilliant. The Wilds family livery.
3 generations of it. Yeah, his
Yeah.
grand his Spencer's grandmother would be very proud of him, as I am.
It's brilliant. When I see photos from kind of back here from back in the day and then to see, three generations racing, that's absolutely magic.
Yeah, it is good, isn't it?
Yeah. And
That's
there was
Michael T-shirt on with the Porsche I drove at Le Mans in '81.
no way. That's very cool. That's one of the first photos on. I think it's back up here somewhere. Sorry, sorry. His what's that? That
That's the Porsche I drove at Le Mans in 1981.
wow. That looks a proper beast.
Yeah, it was a bit of a beast.
There's just so many. I mean, going through all the different photos, the different classes. I haven't even talked about when you were World Sportscar Champions. So was that in this car? Was that in the Acuria
It's
Cos?
in that car, yeah. It was funny. We were running. That was in 1986. We were running Ford DFV engines, V8 3-litre engines in the Ecos in 1984. And I can't remember when it was, whether it was sometime during 1985, we went to a DFL, so a larger capacity, but it suffered with a bit of vibration, which caused us some failures, not actually with the engine, but oil pump drives and things like that. Um, and I think the team wanted to get some form of manufacturer support. So I don't know how it came about, but we spoke to Austin Rover and they gave us some of the 6R4 rally engines, the V6s. And they were given to John Dunn of Swindon Race Engines, who made them into a racing car engines. The rally cars, when they were using it, they seemed to break cam belts quite often. So Swindon had special cam belts made by Unioil in Germany, and touchwood, we never ever had a cam belt failure. The one failure we did have, which I thought was quite hilarious, I was waiting for Ray Mallock to come in for a pit stop at the Silverstone 1000 Ks, and we were doing well in the World Championship. And suddenly he's in the pit lane telling us that he'd got a problem. So he came in. I got my helmet on and everything ready so that I could jump in once they'd sorted the problem out. He came in, he said, he got out of the car, he said, I felt it tighten up, so I've turned it off. So we opened the back, the mechanics opened the back and looked in, and there's a con rod sticking out through the side of the block. So that was sort of the end of play, really. But it was
Yeah,
quite funny.
just slightly tight.
Yes.
Flipping hell.
But that was a great little car. It wasn't as fast as the Cosworth engine Spice, but the driver lineup we had, Spice had a good driver lineup, but I think even though we were probably nearly 100 horsepower down on the Spice, we could still do nearly 217 on the straight. They weren't going any faster. This is at Le Mans.
Mm-hmm.
But it used less fuel. So we made less fuel stops.
Right.
And I think primarily that won us the World Championship. It's the only World Championship I've ever been involved with, but very proud to have been involved.
Yeah, brilliant. What an achievement. Back when the cars were proper cars as well.
Yeah, I mean, I drove one. Tommy Erdos was driving one of those cars with a Cosworth in. I think it was Pat, which was a red Swift Air Ecos. He was driving in historic races. He had a double booking. He was due to be somewhere else racing. So they asked if I would like to drive it. And when I drove it at Silverstone, you know that feeling when you put on a really comfy pair of slippers that you know really well,
Yeah.
and it makes you feel at home. And
Yeah.
well, that's what it felt like when I got in the car. It was just, I absolutely adored driving those cars.
Just straight back at
And
home.
they were quick too.
I remember talking to Rob Garofal about the similar sort of thing when he used to race the Norma V2V car, and it'd be the
Yeah,
same with me. Like if I get in an SR3 Radical, it's exactly the
yeah,
same. It's just like
yeah,
riding the bike. It's just, yeah, this is
yes,
all familiar.
yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
the
It's lovely, isn't
heel and toe will probably be a bit slower nowadays, but
it?
what?
Aren't
So
we
where
all?
was what? How many? What circuits was that championship at then? Where did you go?
Uh,
Spa, I suppose.
there was obviously Silverstone, Brands Hatch, Monza. Um, we went to Fuji in Japan. Um, God, what can I remember?
It's a proper championship. Were they all like
It was
a thousand?
it was a proper world championship. Yeah,
Yeah, so they were all like 1,000 kilometer races, were they?
yes. Plus Le Mans, obviously 24 hour.
Right. Was that included as part of the championship?
I don't think it was part of the championship. It was that was a standalone race, but it was something everybody obviously wanted to do and do well in.
Yeah, mega, of course. There was another photo that came up. Actually, it's that Is that the BRM that we were looking for earlier?
Yes, yes,
Finally
yes.
found it. That's what I couldn't see because it was black and
That's the
white.
day I signed my contract to not get paid,
Right,
with Louis Stanley and Jean Stanley, or Jean Owen as she was. She was the daughter of Rubery Owen, a huge engineering company that funded BRM through its life.
right, right,
And that car actually was pretty good. The chassis was good, but let down by old engines, sadly.
right, right. But the other car that I saw you in here, so this was a Yardley BRM.
Yes, that was Silverstone. That car was owned by Nick Mason, and Nick got me to drive it. It was purely a demonstration at a very wet, could even have been a demonstration at British Grand Prix.
Right.
That was a Ferrari P153, but again, sweet little car, bad engine.
Yeah. It's funny when that because this sounds silly, but I inherited a load of Scale Extric stuff from my uncles who bought the stuff in the 60s. And the Yardley BRM was our favourite car, and it was such a quick car. And so that whenever I see, because didn't Peter Gethin race that back in the day?
Yeah, I think Peter won the Italian Grand Prix, and it's the fastest Grand Prix there's ever been.
Yeah,
Over
and still,
160.
I think it's still the closest finish.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. It's a
But
electric
the
car.
engines in those days were current, and the engines I used in '75 in Argentina and Brazil were over 4 years old, I think. Oh,
Right.
the funny thing was, it blew up on me at Snetterton in my test, and when I got to Argentina, you look around the car as you do, um, and it was the same engine with the block was welded, and so it was deemed it wasn't going to last very long, and it didn't, sadly.
Yeah. There was also, did you do some IndyCar stuff? There's some random IndyCar stuff that
No, I never raced it. It never appealed to me. Not
oh,
that
is this
I
an
ever
F1
got
car?
any offers, but um, oval oval racing didn't appeal to me. I thought it was unbelievably dangerous, especially
Mm,
when I lost my friend Gordon Smiley, who lost his life at Indy. Um, I That is a Tyrrell Formula One, one of the unloved models. I can't remember the type, but
mm.
I was testing it at Willow Springs in California.
Right.
Uh,
I think that's where because it just looks. Maybe it's just the background that looks quite American. Then that's probably
yeah,
what
it's at
threw me.
Willow Springs in the Mojave Desert.
Right. Wow. There's just so many cars that when you go through all the different cars that you've tested and been out in, and yeah, it's amazing. There's some. I did what. There's a couple of photos that I've seen. This might be a good way to end things.
That
Actually,
was one of the best single seaters I ever drove.
what was that?
That, that's a Williams FW07C that was a Saudi works car bought by my sadly missed friend Tony Hazelwood. Um, they did a 65 lap race at Alton Park um, for the British Open, and luckily I got pole. I won the race, got fastest lap because the car was just the fastest thing there, really. There were some other Formula One cars with, there was a Tyrrell and some other things with Tiff Needell and various other people, Formula 5000. So it was like a super Formula Libre race, really. Um, but it won me 4,000 quid, so that was pretty good.
Nice. Was that a ground effects car?
It was, yeah. But we, as you can see, we had to take the skirts off. We weren't allowed. So what we did, we softened the spring rates and just let the chassis do a bit more work. Um, but even even without the sliding skirts on, it was still incredibly quick.
Mega.
Used to jump over Clay Hill. It was just scary.
Wow. There's some other sort of stuff that I see. Some Mazda stuff. Was this historic Le
Yeah, I was
Mans?
no, I was
Oh,
the works
it's
driver
Festival of Speed, isn't it?
for Mazda, um, and in 2011, I raced for them in 24-hour races in R8s, as you can
Oh yeah,
see,
RX-8. Yeah.
and they brought over the Le Mans winning 787B for the Festival of Speed, and I got to drive it there.
Nice.
Very noisy.
Oh, proper howler.
Yes.
I had Chris Hodgetts in as a guest, and yeah, he was talking about his
Yeah, he
first
drove
experience.
the previous generation of car at Le Mans, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he was telling me the first time that he saw a Le Mans car down the Mulsanne Straight before pre-chicane Mulsanne Straight, said it just scared the life out of him.
Yeah, well, luckily all the ones I did, we never had just chicanes.
Tell me, there was one story I heard. I don't want to dwell on the shunts too much, but was it something to do with was it a 312 that you had a shunt? Something broke on a 312
Yes,
up the hill.
yeah, at the Festival of Speed.
Yeah.
Um, I used to demonstrate. I demonstrated it at the British Grand Prix. It was the Villeneuve car that won the Canadian Grand Prix, the
Yeah, what a
312
beauty.
T3,
Yeah.
and um, I drove it on the Friday, drove it on the Saturday, but on the Sunday, going up past the house in a straight line, it just suddenly turned left. Something broke on the rear suspension, and it turned left. And in those days, it wasn't flat. There was a road that went off to um, the house, the Duke of Richmond's house, and it had curbing. So the car went across sideways across the curbing, dropped into the road, went across, then hit the stone curbing the other side and made it jump. Um, and as it did make the jump, the curbing came into the it was a space frame panelled with aluminium. So it looked like a monocoque, but it was a space frame. But it
Mm.
cut in and sliced my heels off, broke both my ankles and both my legs,
Oh,
and then stopped.
God.
Ferrari repaired the car, and Carlos Reutemann drove it the following year, and I was still in a wheelchair.
Really? You spent a
Yeah.
year in the wheelchair, did you?
Well, 10 months or so.
Did you?
Yeah.
What sort of year was that?
Uh, Early 90s.
Was it?
Yeah.
Have you
Well,
recovered from that now? What did they
not
do to?
really. No, I suffer with my legs now.
Do you?
Funny thing was, um, I mean, Chrissy saved my legs basically because I was, they gave me, it took about 45 minutes to get me out of the car because it was all mangled at the front with my legs in there. And she came with me in the ambulance, and at the hospital, they asked her to sign a form for an operation on my legs. And luckily, she read it, and she read that they wanted to take both my legs off below the knee, and she wouldn't sign it. She wanted a second opinion and get a specialist, and they did a brilliant job. 9-hour operation. I had metal heels and all sorts of work. Was they rebuilt me, and I raced the Porsche 9. The picture on the cover of my book is me racing the Porsche 956 3 years ago at the Silverstone Classic. Or was it 2 years ago at the Silverstone Classic? Um, and yeah, that car. I always like the owner, Rainer Becker, is always so kind to me. I drove all his racing cars. He's got a wonderful collection of racing cars. I get him to do the start. I always make some sort of excuse, but really, he put so much money into that car, so much passion into it, that if I drove it first and something went wrong and he couldn't drive it, I'd never forgive myself. So I always get him to do the start. So he went off. I said goodbye to him at the assembly area. I walked round the back of the pits at Le Mans when that picture was taken. I walked through a pit garage. Now, there's probably 50 pit garages there. I could have chosen any one of them just to get into the pit lane. I walked through and a man said, "You're limping a bit today, Mike." And I was. As I'm sitting here now, my legs hurt, and sometimes they hurt more than others, and I limp. And I turned to say, "Yeah, I broke my legs and everything." And he looked at me and said, "I'm the surgeon that rebuilt your legs." And I cried, and I went and gave him a cuddle. I didn't recognise him because it had been 40 odd years
Oh,
since
God.
I had the accident. But how amazing is that he happened to be in that pit garage at that time?
Yeah.
And I gave him a big cuddle and thanked him, and then had to go. And I hoped I'd bump into him again, but I sadly didn't. But amazing that he
That's
saved my
brilliant.
legs.
Wow. Wow. Well, there's one more photo that I was going to ask you about, because you'll well, actually,
Oh,
before that,
oh,
that you, you
oh.
you couldn't have hurt your legs too badly, because do you know what, Mike? I've seen this photo before, and, well, actually, you could name the drivers in here.
I can't remember. I
There's
can't
quite a
remember.
story behind this photo. I
Yeah,
thought this photo had been lost. I,
I haven't seen it for a long time. That
yeah,
was in Sepang. We were doing
yeah,
some work for Jaguar.
Jaguar. Yeah,
And everybody had gone home, and God, it was so hot. Um,
amazing. Name the
anyway,
drivers by their arse. I know Chris Baker's in there somewhere.
yeah, yeah, just there, yeah, right in the middle almost. Um, it was absolutely hilarious. Somebody said, "Yeah, we ought to have our pictures taken on the grid." And then some bright spark, I can't remember who it was. I mean, Gary Ailes is in there somewhere.
Gary O's,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
and you can see I'm lagging behind because I cannot run with my legs. I cannot run, so I'm just sort of pretending I can run.
Doing all
Um,
right.
they said that it
We
was
can tell
because,
whose helmet is who, though, if you pardon the
yeah,
pun.
you certainly tell mine, yeah. Yes, you wouldn't. If I turned around, you wouldn't have even seen it.
You've seen a helmet.
But um, everybody had gone home, and so they said, "Come on!" I'd never done a streak in my life before, so we did this streak, and it was Carolyn Grant Sale took the picture. Bless her. Do you remember she used to race karts for uh, Martin Hines? She was Martin
Ah,
Hines' teammate. She was really quick, but she
right.
runs a PR company now. Anyway, there was nobody there. Anyway, Jaguar heard of it and sacked us all.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, it was great. All sorts of havoc.
But it was worth it. They've subsequently got me to do work, which is great.
Brilliant. There is one more photo actually back in the day as well. Let me see if I can bring this up on screen, which is really funny, and we can leave it on this one. It's just you can tell us a story behind this one.
Well,
Absolute gem.
that was back in, I think I just literally a few days before I'd signed for BRM. Can you imagine from any Formula One drivers doing this sort of thing nowadays? I don't think so. But it was a dinner in the Dorchester at Park Lane, and it was a motor racing. It could have even been a doghouse do. Do you remember the Doghouse Club?
I've
All
heard of it.
the wives of the drivers, they used to all get together and have um, a location at races where they could all sit and chat while their husbands were off doing the racing. And it was muted. I don't know if it was Sterling Moss or who. I know I got a phone call that did I fancy dressing up in women's clothes to go to this dinner dance in Park Lane. So I put on an evening dress, and you can see Graham Hill is very sexy with his hand on his hips there on the far right. Peter Gettin's next to him, dressed as a Dutch girl. Me with
Amazing.
my beard. The lady, it's a shame we can't see. The lady was actually
It's in your
topless.
book. It's in your book.
Oh yeah,
Don't
it's
worry.
in the book.
Another reason to buy your book.
Tony Lanfranc is being very feminine with his wig. Then Sterling, when we arrived, Sterling only had to walk round from Shepherd's Market, and he had a Macintosh on. And I said, we're supposed to be in ladies' dresses. And I couldn't see an evening dress at the bottom, but he did have ladies' shoes on. And he
Amazing.
said, I am dressed as a female. He said, he got a bikini on, which was hilarious.
Sterling
Um,
what Moss walking around London with high
yeah,
heels
yeah, yeah. In a bikini.
in a
And
bikini.
then Jerry Marshall at the end. But
Amazing.
we we all had so much fun. Uh, this was just one of lots of times when we all got together and had fun. It's the sport has changed so much, and characters like that. Um, I'm sure there are some characters out there, but it was the funniest thing to do, and there was nothing. I mean, it's seriously non-PC nowadays, but we were just there having fun. There was nothing sexual about it
Yeah,
or anything.
there's no they thems involved in any of
No,
that.
no, we just it just caused a lot of laughs, which was the object of the exercise.
Yeah, mega. Well, Mike, you've given us a couple of hours. Thank you very much
Have
for
I?
giving us your time.
My
Yeah,
God.
it's been 2 hours. Um, you're still racing a Formula Atlantic. That's absolutely brilliant, and still right up the sharp end. You've won your class at Thruxton, what, a couple of weeks ago, was it?
Yeah, yeah. It was really weird because I hadn't raced a single seater for 40 years, and to get back in um, a proper racing car, a little Cosworth BDA in the back, and Peter Venn, very kind. He's got two of them, so he offered me the driving one, and I remembered we were going to do a test day, but we never did. So I just got to strap myself in on the morning, and after a few laps, I remember that when I was in Formula 2, those of you who would know Thruxton after Campbell, Cobb and Seagrave, the circuit is very, very fast. It's the fastest circuit in the country. I remembered in Formula 2, I was flat in fifth from there. Once I got into fifth, I was flat all the way through, all the way around the right-handers through Church and up to the breaking point at the chicane. And I thought, I wonder if I could still do it. And fourth lap in the Atlantic, she was absolutely flat all the way around, and it was every lap after that. And there's something special about driving a single seater. It does everything you want it to do. The Atlantic, slightly overtired, so it doesn't slide around very much. I don't think I put a touch of opposite lock on that car for the
Mm,
whole weekend, but managed to win my class on the Saturday and the Sunday, and won my dear friend Ian Flux's trophy for former Atlantic cars, and I finished fourth overall out of 28 cars. I was, I felt like I was 20 again. I can't tell you how much I was buzzing. Um,
mega.
and it's what life's about. I have this passion inside me. I still feel when I go through the gates of a circuit, doesn't matter what circuit really, but I feel at home, and it's
Yeah,
where I want to be, which
yeah.
is why I still do lots of coaching, um, because I spend days with like-minded people in uh, a place I love to be in.
At Alton Park this weekend. Alton Park, where you very kindly signed my book. That was where I last saw you, actually. Very
Yeah,
good. That's
great.
awesome. It's a really good book. Life on the Wild Side. So, yeah. Mike, are you
Yeah, it's not
racing it? You race? Sorry, mate. Are you racing this weekend? Are you at the Gold Cup?
no, sadly not. There's I used to be an ambassador for Chevron because I did win a lot of races in Chevron B19s and B31s. And I'm doing something with Marcus Pye about chevrons there on Sunday. And because I did some Grand Prix for BRM, there's a BRM celebration over the weekend as well. So I'm doing some stuff with BRM there. They've got 22 cars there, I think. Sadly, I don't think I'm driving any of them, but it's just going to be. I did the Gold Cup back in the day, and it's just going to be nice to be there. It's one of my favourite circuits anyway, as I
Yeah.
think most race drivers love driving round Alton Park.
Yeah, it's
It's a
proper.
lovely part of the world. I'm going to take my son Michael with me. He's not very well, bless him. He had a massive heart attack last November, and he's been very ill since. So we're going to give him a ride up to Alton Park so he can enjoy himself.
Fantastic. Well, I hope the weather's good for you. Mike, great to speak to you again. And
And you,
thanks
my
for giving me
friend.
your time. Keep it pinned, mate.
Yeah, I hope I
Don't
haven't
lift
bored
off.
everybody.
No, it's been great. It's been great.
God
Top
bless you.
man.
We'll talk again soon.
All right, pal. Catch you later.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.